Yo, what up, everybody? My name is Drake Demore from the Win City Sports Podcast, and this episode of Cedric Ben's Combat Quarter is brought to you by the Win City Sports Podcast. Check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and anywhere podcasts are found, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or directly on wincitysports.com. Smell you later.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Cedric's Combat Corner number 20. I am your host, Cedric Ben. Today on the Triple C's podcast, we'll be going over Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Sergey the Krusher Kovalev at light heavyweight. We're going to start with the Krusher first. Sergey Kovalev, this guy, just to give you a brief history, I'll give you a brief history on each fighter first, and then we'll get into it. So, the former light heavyweight champion Sergey Kovalev turned professional in 2009. Since then, he has a record of 34 wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw. His 2 biggest fights was against Andre Ward. He had a controversial loss in the first match. Andre Ward was kind enough to give him that rematch and beat him that second time. And since then, the Krusher has not exactly looked like the Krusher, even though that's still his nickname. He had 1 loss, but had a rematch with the guy and beat him convincingly, so he made up for that. In his last match against Anthony Yardy from the UK, up-and-coming boxer, he was doing good. He ended up with an 11th round stoppage. In the 11th round, he stopped Anthony Yardy in the 11th round. He got shooken up in the 8th, though, like shooken up real bad. But he showed his experience and weathered the storm. And like I said, ended up winning in the 11th, stopping him in the 11th round. And so he was able to keep his light heavyweight title and move on. Now, Mr. Canelo Alvarez, this guy has had a serious career. This guy turned pro at either 15 or 16 years old. I'm pretty sure it was 16, but it might have even been 15. This guy, anyways, 16 years old is still big. Since then, he's now 29. Since then, he has a record of 53 wins, 1 loss, and 2 draws. That 1 loss coming to the great Floyd Mayweather. Another big thing, this guy, this fight right here was at 175. Canelo started his career at welterweight. I'm pretty sure it was 147. Might have been 140. But to jump up that much, that's, I don't care where you start. That's serious. Now, let's just get something out of the way real quick. Of course, a lot of people trying to discredit the win by saying Canelo picked the weakest champion at light heavyweight. Let me give you a little education real quick. When you move up in weight classes, whether it's boxing or MMA, you don't fight, first of all, you don't fight the number 1 guy right off the bat. Usually you don't even fight the champion right off the bat. You fight, a top 10 guy or someone that's close to the top 10 just to see how you do at that weight. It's a different type. There's a reason why there's weight classes. The power is different. The speed is different. The punch resistance is different. So that's a big thing. It's a big thing just to move up one, and that's just for moving up 1 weight class. Most guys would just wait, not fight the champion first, but someone close to the top 10, and then move their way up from there. Canelo moved up 2 weight classes and challenged a guy who was a champion and still considered at least one of the top 5 guys. I definitely don't think he's one of the top 3, but he'd give the other 2 champions. Kovalev would give Bivol and the guy that just lost to Better Beef. He'd give both of those guys a good run for their money. I don't think Kovalev would beat Better Beef, but the 2 other guys, I think he'd have a good chance. So I do give Canelo credit for this win. He didn't just fight a bum. The Krusher might not have been the Krusher as he used to be. He's still a good fighter, especially moving up 2 weight classes. So my prediction for the fight was close to being a reality. Going into that 11th round, I actually had the fight a draw. I gave the first three. I gave the first three to Kovalev, the next four to Canelo, and then I believe it was like 1-1 or however it broken down to where it ended up being a tie going into that 11th round. So my prediction before the fight was that Canelo was going to win by split decision. So it was on its way to looking exactly like that until Kovalev got caught with that left hook and starting with that left hook and finished him off with that right hand. Now here are the specifics that I took from this fight. I was really surprised to see that Canelo was the one that was walking Kovalev down. Again, Canelo was the one that moved up not just one but two weight classes, and he had Kovalev backing up the whole time. Kovalev was boxing very well. He was boxing very well. Like I said, I gave him the first 3 rounds. He was boxing. It didn't look like he was putting it did look like he could have threw more right hands, put a little bit more power in those shots. But again, not that he was scared, but he's very aware of Canelo's very good counter-punching skills. Maybe not necessarily he probably was not necessarily thinking about Canelo's power, but if you get caught with a punch that you don't see, those ones definitely hurt too. So Canelo moving up in weight classes might not have had the power, but he definitely had the speed advantage. And he's, like I said, he's one of the best counter punchers in the game. So I believe that's the reason why Kovalev was hesitating to really commit to throwing some hard punches. Now the finisher, starting with that left hook to the chin, and how Canelo was able to land it. Canelo is very, very good at mixing it up to the body and to the head. As far as any other boxer out there right now, he's probably one of the best out there that goes to the body just as much as he comes to the head. The word about Kovalev is that he doesn't respond to body shots very well. When people say, I hear people say he doesn't, Kovalev doesn't, not just Kovalev, but sometimes you hear someone say, oh, he doesn't like getting hit to the body. And some people might say, well, it doesn't make sense. Nobody likes getting hit to the body, of course. But what they mean by that is that a person might not react well. Like, if you get hit with a hard punch, you have to do your best to try not to show that it affected you. But in this case, Kovalev, and it happens in other cases with other boxers, if you hit him hard to the body, like he's not good at hiding it. Like he shows that he's hurt. So with that being said, he knows that Kovalev knew that Canelo was a good body shot thrower. That don't even make sense. Good at throwing body shots. And he's a good counter puncher, so that probably made him hesitate. So when Canelo landed that left hook, when he threw that left hook, you can throw it in a way that it makes it look like you're throwing to the body, but you're really coming up top. So like I just said, Canelo is very good at mixing up, going to the body and to the head. He sits down. He's a perfect example of someone that sits down on his punches, even on his counter punches. So when he threw that left hook, when he bent his legs a little bit, when he threw that left hook, Kovalev for a split second probably thought it was going to the body. And then he realized when it was too late that it came up top because that left hook shook his legs. He couldn't brace himself, and that right cross from Canelo came right across Kovalev's chin. And that was the ending of the match. All right. So now my quick breakdown on each fighter, starting with the new light heavyweight champion, Canelo Alvarez. Canelo, I would say, is the best flat-footed boxer in boxing today. I'm going to explain that. Artur Beterbiev, the other champion at light heavyweight, he's probably number 2 at this. But best flat-footed boxer in the game today. Canelo has great upper body defensive movement. Great upper body defensive movement. But that movement does not just come from your upper body. It still comes from your legs. So let me explain how, and I'm going to use another great defensive boxer, Floyd Mayweather, as an example. And this should help you understand how someone like Canelo would be considered more of an exciting fighter. Even though Canelo is, I look at him as more of a defensive fighter. But anyways, let me just explain, and you should understand after this. So, starting with Floyd Mayweather, one of the best defensive boxers of all time. Earlier in Floyd's career, he was on his toes, moving around. You couldn't touch him. You couldn't touch him at any time in his career. But what happened later on in his career, when after the age of 35, he became more of a flat-footed, strictly defensive fighter. Obviously, very successful at it. But here's the difference between Floyd and Canelo. Floyd's defense, he would just make his opponent miss completely. Like the person would look like they're shadow boxing if they're trying to throw at him. So if you're an opponent, like if you're in there and you're throwing a lot and you keep missing, that's what makes a person hesitate to throw again, especially if you're throwing and missing and getting hit back. Even if it's not hard punches, but you're missing and getting hit back, that's what causes a person to hesitate. And once you hesitate in the ring and your opponent can see that, especially if they're a high-level boxer, then obviously they have a bigger advantage, and if they're smart, they'll take advantage of that. So the people that like Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward go to war till somebody dies type boxing matches, they don't like Floyd because his matches just look like a one-sided affair, a one-sided show. The other guy can't touch Floyd. Floyd's hitting him back, not that much, but enough to clearly win the round. Here's the difference with Canelo Alvarez. Again, a great defensive boxer, but this is the difference. Alvarez will make you miss, but it's mostly by blocking, not exactly like slipping and ducking under, which he does. He'll do that movement, but inside the pocket, he has his hands up and he's very good at blocking. But so the thing is, you can still touch him. His opponents can still touch him. So even if you might not be landing cleanly, if you're throwing and at least touching his gloves, it still gives you the confidence that you can keep throwing. The dangerous thing about throwing extra on Canelo, as I mentioned before, is that he's one of the best counterpunchers in the game today. And that's what happened in the 11th round. Kovalev was doing good. He was doing his thing. But then Canelo just timed him the same way he times most other guys. And that's exactly what happened in that 11th round. Yeah, so for Kovalev, what's next for him? He's had a good career, man. If I was him, I'd just chill, man. Just chill, call it quits now, or maybe get your promoter, get you one easier fight so you can go out on a win. You know what I'm saying? He got paid $12 million for this fight, so he's good. I know he got a couple million for the Andre Ward fights, and he was a champion for a bit. So as long as he's smart, he should save. I hope he saved his money. And he should be good because, you can keep fighting if you want to for the love of the game, but boxing's not something to do just if you're half into it. In that, I mentioned before, in his last match when he fought Anthony Yarde, young up-and-comer, he almost got stopped in that 8th round. And he said after the fight, I can't remember if it was before or after, but he said if he would have lost that match, then he would have retired. So that's showing that he's already has one foot out the door. His punch resistance is not as high as it was before, and there are some monsters in his division. So he really needs to rethink if he really wants to do this just for the love of the game, or just chill, keep his $12 million he got for this fight, and just chill with his family. That's what I would do, but don't let your pride get you hurt, man. Don't let your pride get you hurt. Yeah, as for Canelo, as I say for all successful fighters, just keep doing what you're doing. Only thing I would suggest for Canelo is to maybe try starting a little bit faster. He does like Floyd in his fights, where he would he has that much confidence in his skills that he would just blatantly give you the first couple of rounds just to figure you out, see what you're doing, see what your tendencies are, and then slowly pick up the pace from there. But that's the reason why Canelo has had a few controversial decisions in his career. Is for that reason. He starts off slow. He always ends up picking up the pace, but sometimes it's not to the pace of to the pace where people think that he actually won. So my suggestion to him: just start a little bit faster. Keep doing what you're doing. This guy, like I said, he's only 29 years old. He's already got 53 fights. I'm assuming he's gonna fight for another 5 years. Yeah, man, he's a Hall of Famer already. So keep that defense tight and stay focused. Oh yeah, the question would be what weight? What weight is Canelo Alvarez gonna continue competing at? That would be a monster fight between him and Arthur Beterbiev, the unified champion at light heavyweight. I definitely don't think that's gonna happen next. The other two champions would be a good test for Canelo. But I mean, there's still guys at 168 or even 160. But the thing is, it's how bad would he have to, kill himself cutting weight to get to back to those weight classes? We've seen bad cases before. My favorite fighter of all time, Roy Jones Jr., after he won that light heavyweight title, he should have retired after that. He would have just rode off into the sunset. But his pride got in his way, and he came back. He lost a bunch of muscle, and it showed in his performance. So I don't want to see that happen to Canelo. So I hope he's smart. Hope he's eating good, and still got another good couple of years of fighting in him. All right. Now for the boxing training focus of the week: counterpunching. Different ways you can work on your counterpunching. Starting with shadow boxing first. I mean, just simple cues when you're moving around, just practicing your fundamental punches. Visualize the punch being thrown at you, block it, and come back with that same punch. Or whatever you're throwing in your shadow boxing, visualize that same punch or punches if you're throwing a combination coming back at you, and do the defense for each of those things too. On the bag, same thing. What I do as a coach, when I have guys hitting the bag, and girls, my bad, I'll go around with a small stick and just, touch them to the body, touch them up top, just to remind them about some type of defensive move that they should have. Not just the defensive move, but the counter punching, throwing back. Anybody could stand there and just, turtle up and cover up. But it's how fast you can hit your opponent. And then the better you do that, the better you are at counterpunching, the more effective your match will be, because that'll make the other person hesitate. If they know, again, if someone's trying to throw at you, not only do they have a hard time hitting you, but every time they try to throw, they're getting hit back. That's what makes them hesitate. And that's how you take advantage of that. I have a video on my YouTube page. I got to make a bunch more, but about how to block the body shot. It's just one way. Again, there's a million different techniques and ways. I'll be adding a lot more, but there's one on there right now, so check that one out. How to block a body shot. Cedric Sports on YouTube. All right. That's it for this week. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to my show. If you have any suggestions, constructive criticism, anything you want me to add to the show, please hit me up on any social media at Cedric Sports. Yeah, thank you. Shout out to Win City Sports. Peace.